Cato did this really cool study, The Myth of the American Income Inequality. John F. Early, I believe is what that says right there. And I thought this was pretty cool. And so we got a couple questions to answer here. When you talk about income inequality, do you think that that should include the money that people receive through welfare payments, or do you think it should also include like what your income is at the end of the day after you pay taxes? Or do you think we just purely do it based on the income that people make from their sources of income, whatever they are?
Income would be, whatever dollars you get from any source.
What about welfare?
Welfare?
Yeah. What Cato is going through here is that they do not take into account whether or not people are given subsidies or welfare or any kind of tax benefits, earned income tax credits. They also don't take into account how much people pay in taxes, anything like that. They just talk about the pure stats. How much money does this person make? What does that person make? Similar to that study where it talks about the percentage that the rich pay in taxes versus the percentage that the poor pay in taxes.
They just took out some things.
It didn't account the fact that they don't pay any taxes.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Or they get money back.
So Cato says the Census Bureau does not count 2/3 of government subsidies to households, which are called transfer payments, as income, or any taxes taken as reductions to income. So it overstates both income inequality and poverty. Counting all subsidies and taxes shows that income inequality is far less than claimed and continuing to fall. These overstatements have justified higher subsidies to lower-income households that in turn have caused twice as many work-age adults in lower-income households to stop working because they're then incentivized to not work. I will say that I understand the idea that you would want to have a measurement of how much are people making before we take money from these people and give it to those people. Like, you need to know that, right? If you're going to have a wealth redistribution or an income redistribution scheme, you need to know what these people are making and what these people are making so you can try and even it out.
But then you should remeasure.
Yeah. Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
The problem is after that, how do you ever measure the effects of your redistribution policies if you don't count any of the redistributed money?
Mm-hmm.
You don't. And so it always looks like you're just going nowhere. Even though you're taking money from these people and giving it to them, if you never look at what their income is after you took that away from them, and you say, well, we got these taxes, we got this stuff, but look, we still got income inequality.
Yeah.
No, we're taking money from them, we're giving it to them. Look, we still got the same income. Actually, it's getting worse. Income inequality is getting worse. Yeah, you would have to look at what their income is after you give them someone else's income, right?
Remeasuring is very important.
By not counting 2/3 of all transfer payments as income to the recipients of the transfers and not counting taxes paid as income lost to taxpayers, government statistics dramatically overstate income inequality. Income inequality is lower today than it was 3/4 of a century ago. So the official stats on economic well-being do not count more than 2/3 of the transfer payments. We said it did not reduce the income that the government takes as taxes, which average 35% of income for the top quintile, and adjust for inflation using price indexes that are not the most accurate. As a result, official stats overstate income inequality by a factor of 4 and claim that inequality has been rising when it has actually been falling for the past 70 years. Similarly, official poverty counts are 10 times larger than the actual number. That is another thing that we don't do. We have this poverty number, and then we give people money so they're not in poverty anymore.
But then don't count.
But we don't count that, so the poverty number still it's the same.
They're still poor.
Now, there's an issue here when comparing with other countries, and it's really tough because each country measures these things differently. Some countries do count what we're talking about, and some of them don't. And so sometimes when comparing with different countries and you say, oh, look, their poverty is so much lower. Well, the way that they count their poverty level, and they could have a different threshold to begin with, it could be very different from the way that we count our poverty level.
Yeah, the best place to live is North Korea. They don't have any poverty.
No poverty there.
No obesity.
Not one bit.
No poverty.
Mm-mm.
There's no health, free health care there. Everyone lives forever. It's impressive.
So the census money income shows the average income for households in the top quintile 16.7 times as much as in the bottom quintile. So that's the income inequality between the two. 16.7 times as big. Here's the bottom quintile. There's their income. Here's the top. There's their income. 16.7-fold difference between the top and bottom. However, since Bureau excludes more than 100 transfer programs, such as the Treasury Department checks that pay low-income households refundable tax credits, food stamp, debit cards, and doctor bills paid by Medicaid, none of that's counted in anyone's income. If you always use the income inequality to argue for income redistribution,
And he's like, it's not getting better.
and then you do the income redistribution, but then you don't count the income redistribution in your number, all the while what you're doing is actually incentivizing people to work less because they get more of other people's income redistributed to them, then it looks like you never solve the problem. Adding those missing transfer payments increases the earned income in the bottom quintile by almost 700%. This is after they add in all those transfer payments. It's a little bit different now, but now what else? What if you take the taxes out of the people at the top part? Because those are the ones paying most of the taxes. The official income numbers make no adjustment for the loss of income to taxes. In the bottom quintile, only 7% of household income is lost to taxes. But in the top, 35%, or 5 times as much, is lost. And so this is another thing here. You're using the taxes to redistribute someone's income down to the bottom. You're not measuring how much income they actually take in after you use the taxes to redistribute, and you're not measuring what the people's income looks like after you redistribute it down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. So this makes it like what, 2.5 to 1?
It takes it down to, let's see, the top quintile receives only 4 times as much income as the bottom, only 1/4 as much as the 16.7 ratio that the official measure is.
Yeah.
And so how can that be? Well, that's because the top, they have the 35% in taxes, and then a bunch of that money ends up going down to the bottom. It sounds like something that you've never heard of before because we don't count that when we talk about income inequality, which is nuts. The other thing that they don't count when they were talking about those missing incomes, they don't talk about people's benefits from their jobs. Like if you've got health care, you've got whatever other 401k contributions, stuff like that, whatever those things are. That's income. It's just in a different form. Just imagine the idea of implementing this massive redistributive income scheme and then not taking into account what the incomes look like afterwards. You never measure the effects of your plan.
Tweeting
that
it's gotten worse.